What's up, everyone? Welcome to Simulation. We are going to be talking about the Global Gift Project. And doing that with us today is Jordan Lejuan.
Hey, thanks for having me on.
Thanks for coming on to the show, man.
Yeah.
Really appreciate it. So we met, what, like two-ish years ago now?
Two-ish years ago, yeah.
And so we were working on some like Futurism Worlds Fair Nano collab. And then we kept in touch to focus on like some larger even scale ideas and projects, like how do we get the world to work together? Mm-hmm. And I've really enjoyed that inspirational mentality from you. And now you're going to teach us about Global Gift Project. I'm super excited to unpack that with you. And let's talk about, let's talk a little bit about what got you here. Because I'd like maybe for the audience to get a quick blurb on the Global Gift Project. So why don't you give that to us, and then I'll ask you more about how you got here.
Cool. So the basic idea for the Global Gift Project was inspired by thinking about the Statue of Liberty and how France gave that as a gift to the US. And I feel like that's something that we don't really think about or really appreciate, like the magnitude of that being a gift. It's now, it's like a statue that's known around the world. It's been there for, over 100 years. It's a symbol of American culture and freedom, like worldwide. And just what a cool showing of goodwill between countries. So the idea is to kind of bring that back and do it all over again in the 21st century, and to crowdfund a gigantic piece of art, about 80 feet tall, to be given as a gift from the people of the US to the people of Mexico, with the hope of inspiring more country-to-country gifts, especially with between countries that have been traditionally at odds.
Yeah. So what year was it that France gave the US statue?
It was like a 20-year process. It took a lot longer than they expected it to, because it was supposed to be a gift for the 100th year anniversary of American independence, like 1876. Yeah. And then I think it was like 1892 or something when it was finally gifted. Yeah. 86 and 92, somewhere in there.
And has that been the only large-scale, gigantic piece of art gifted from country to country?
As far as I know, especially at that scale. There's been some smaller stuff recently, but like nothing like the Statue of Liberty where like the whole world knows about it.
Yeah. And I love the thesis and the inspiration behind this is the idea of unity, the idea of especially countries that have had some sort of conflict in the past to be able to say like, here, this is the gift that we're giving you. So there's so much like philosophy and so much unity and how you're actually going about the execution of this that we're going to unpack. Okay, so now take us to Jordan that was, figuring out his life and figuring out what he wanted to do with his life. So you ended up co-founding Futurism. It's about like 3 years or so ago. And Futurism is, we can also pull up these assets along the way. We're going to walk you guys through a couple of, we're going to show some cool Global Gift Project work. We're going to show some cool Futurism work. So I just want to show people this because I think this is really important. I don't know how many people are aware of this publication. Do you guys call it a publication? You guys call it a publication? So Futurism.com covers so much interesting news. Like if you go to this news tab, advanced transport, AI, BlockNIC, which I don't even know what BlockNIC is.
Oh, that's just our blockchain publication, it's category.
Okay, it's a blockchain category, cool. Earth and energy, enhanced humans, future society, hard science, robots and machines, virtuality?
Virtuality, because it covers like virtual reality, augmented reality, mixed reality, all that stuff.
Yeah. And so you helped this really kick off into what it became. And how did you even land here, and also what inspired you guys to make a publication about so many important future concepts?
I'm pretty much an obsession with technology, and thinking about how AI and robotics and self-driving cars and nano and gene editing is going to drastically change our society in the next 5, 10, 50, 200, 100 years. And 3 years ago when this was started, these weren't like mainstream topics really. Like most people didn't realize that self-driving cars were coming. They didn't know about CRISPR gene editing. This really was not part of the cultural zeitgeist. People weren't aware of like all the changes that were coming. So the thesis was that people should know. You know, they need to know how things are going to be changing, especially so that they can be informed. So when things like voting on these concepts come up, then they can vote with an informed mind instead of just being fearful of robots taking their job, or like gene editing turning us all into like, you know, half human, half pig, whatever people think when they think of these technologies that have long been science fiction and are now very rapidly becoming real.
Yes, so the idea is to educate more, to popularize the futuristic concepts that are really near coming, and like we got to know what we're doing with these futuristic concepts, especially general public, getting more understanding about especially things that are going to like genetic engineering and artificial intelligence to their max. So okay, so cool, and then you ended up. So through this process of co-founding a publication, maybe give the audience a little insight into like what this was like, the whole process of figuring out how to run a publication, run a company, design and engineer the site, make the cool video content as well. Like, yeah, tell us about that.
Yeah, sure. So it's come a long way in 3 years. It was 3 of us in an office above a bagel shop in Brooklyn, like 3 years ago. That's why I moved to New York to work on futurism. And originally it was a lot different than it was now. It was more so like an aggregator for news from other websites. And then we quickly realized how much more we could do by actually creating the content ourselves.
Yes, amen. Why is it?
And there just wasn't enough content too. Like this stuff wasn't really being covered.
Yeah.
It was like, you know, yeah.
We live in a little bubble here too, where like CNN and Fox News don't cover AI as much as TechCrunch and Mashable and all.
Totally.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And then we got like an early break by publishing this really popular infographic on Reddit called This Week in Science. It was like a, you know, kind of a square infographic that had the top 6 stories in science and tech that week. And it was just a really easy, digestible version of all these stories people could like go through, and then started trickling people from that back to futurism, which really built up the initial audience. Yeah. And then we got really into doing short form social videos, like, you know, those 30 to 60 second caption videos that you see everywhere now. We were like definitely one of the first publications to do that in the science and tech field, and we were pretty early overall anyways. So that's what helped really like launch us off into having what I think is like 7 million or so Facebook fans.
Yeah, that's huge. Yep. I love how you did the whole 3 people above a bagel shop and built it up. That's very inspirational. You got to find the ways to design information that is novel and then get it out to the masses like you did through that infographic on Reddit, through these 30-second videos that became very popular. And it's, you know, it's these fast cuts. It's a lot of the time it's these really powerful stories. It's the way you overlay text onto the video, all these different strategies, which simulation needs to start doing better. We got a long way to go to get there, but we're gonna get there. Support us on Patreon. We'll get there faster, and prioritize in general what we're up to. So futurism is growing. You guys had a team. How large is the team now?
I think we're at like 45 people-ish.
Yeah, okay, 45 people, that's really big. Okay, so over 3 years, that grew very fast. Okay, now what was this moment for you of like, okay, I helped build futurism, that was amazing, I love it, and I like continue interacting with it, engaging with the team and stuff, but I want to focus more of my time on Global Gift Project. How was that, how'd that moment come to you?
Well, Global Gift Project was an idea that had been kind of like inside me and like itching to come out for like the last 3 years. Yeah, even before joining like futurism in the early days, that was like the big question is like, do I do this thing that's like this really big idea and it's like my heart project, or I do this thing that I'm like very excited by and has a lot of potential momentum. Like they're kind of like two different parts of me, like technology and bringing people together. So after 3 years of futurism and getting it to a level of like success, and, you know, a lot of people actually knowing about these technologies, like I would say that the topics we write about are like not even like the future anymore. You know, like Fox News is covering it now, which is crazy.
Yeah.
So I felt like a little bit mission accomplished, and now it's time to focus on this thing that has been wanting to come out for a long time, and that I think the world really needs.
Yeah, it's an interesting way to put it. You sort of sparked the fire under humanity's ass to talk about these subjects more, and then you're like, okay, now I can focus on this massive passion project that I have that I want to build. Okay, so this is 7 months ago. We were talking on the phone about it, and when I was first hearing about it, I was getting really inspired about it. How does this idea even come to someone?
It's funny, I don't even remember how. It was like 3 years ago, and it's probably just me going on a walk in the morning and thinking like, man, like what could I do like that would really get the world's attention?
Yes.
And call attention to the fact that, we think of ourselves as, well, I think I like Colombian and Algerian and American and Canadian first.
Yeah,
we set up these borders.
Let's show that. That's a really good point. So I love the gift that's orbiting Earth is so freaking awesome. Okay, so the goal is to spark a chain reaction of gifts between the countries of the world. Okay, and then here you really break it down. Sounds cool, but why? And this is really true right here. So continue.
I can just read it here. Like, our world is fragmented with invisible borders. We've made up these borders that aren't really there, and we identify with those borders and see them as like the other, right? It's like us versus them, and we think of ourselves first as German, Nigerian, or Colombian rather than simply human. Like, we're all really the same. Meanwhile, humanity is facing monumental issues that will require global cooperation to solve, like the refugee crisis, the water crisis, global warming as a whole. There's endless problems that are what our news channels are focusing on 24/7.
We were talking about AI and genetic engineering and all these other things as well,
right,
that you guys talk about in Futurism.
Yeah, current problems and impending problems that are coming soon. And this project seeks to remind us that we're all just a bunch of humans and we're in this together.
Now, it's so tough. When civilization evolves with borders, it becomes so difficult to imagine what it's like without borders. And
we've been just with borders since, we were eating dirt. So it's just part of the evolutionary process. And it's something that we all have to collectively agree on. We got to tear down these walls and borders and go forward. Otherwise, we'll just become another lost civilization in which this planet is littered with.
Mm-hmm. I think borders are fine, and you're right, they're totally natural. And I just think we need to move up one more level in terms of how we're thinking about our fellow man. So like, if you look at the United States, right, we have the states, and those are distinctly separate. They have their own governments and their own laws. But what's more important is that we're American, and like the country as a whole acts together. And I don't think we really have that as the globe, as like the human species. So I'd like to push us more towards, okay, first we are human, and then like below that, in less importance, are these things we've created called nations, which are still important.
Yeah, I think that's an interesting organizational structure that might be the one that makes sense for people that are also very tied to their country and because if you completely wash away, then they lose that sense of where they were born and the culture in that area. So it's okay. So so the idea is, sure, think of yourself first as human, first as the collective, and then secondarily also think about your culture and where you were born, what part of the world that is, and then the way we interact between these boards. Okay, so now what does looking at this massive list of monumental problems and then thinking, okay, if we exchange gigantic pieces of art, that might calm everyone down a little and bring people closer together. Is that about the...
Yeah, a little bit. Like it's like, I guess, a little bit abstract, right? Art itself is abstract. It also makes it really powerful. It's able to kind of transcend politics and borders and just like move past all the bullshit and be like we're giving you a gift. That's like something that's universally understood as like, oh, like, wow, like maybe we're not so different. And the hope is to just inspire people in general to think about what's possible and like to create like a good piece of news, like a really good piece of news, which we don't have very much of that. It's all like another war started, families have been separated at the border, like, et cetera, et cetera.
I can only imagine what it will be like when we have a tremendous amount of coverage around a global gift that is delivered to another country.
It's just so novel. It's so outside of the current narrative, which is that like things are fucked. Right? It's like, oh, but this is happening. Like, if this could happen, what else could happen? And then, of course, the very ideal outcome of this is that you have two countries that like hate each other or like actually at war, and you have the people from each of those countries giving gifts to each other. Because is it really like the people that hate the people of the other country? In some cases, yes. In some cases, yes.
Really?
Yeah, you guys should talk about this. What do you disagree on here?
I just think that kindred spirits like each other, and it's not the country. I don't think that really exists, that countries, hate each other. I mean, the ignorant among all of the countries certainly may hate each other countries, but I just think our well-educated people from all walks of life in the land are open arms in regards to respecting other cultures and peoples. That's just, in my 51 years, hey, what do I know?
Jordan, what do you think?
Unfortunately, the world is not comprised of that minority, or like that you're talking
about.
Smart
people. You're right.
The people that were lucky enough to be born into a circumstance that allowed them to be educated and, having transborder, experiences.
My parents were dumb. I didn't have the opportunity to turn into me. My older brother turned into my father, and my younger brother turned into my mother and my stepfather. It's just, I don't know.
Yeah, there is an interesting sort of, should we call it a tendency that humans have to funnel into either ignorance or knowledge, a blue pill or red pill per se, and a lot of that does have to do with our inherent nature, and some of that has to do with our nurture, and I think people can break through that along the way. I just personally think I'm continuously ignorant for my whole life because that's actually a very important grounding point for myself to stay humble. But I think if you have people talking across borders that think that they know everything, that's when you have issues, when people are trying to combat over land, over money, over power, and they are, like we were talking about prior to this, they haven't quite dosed up on some psychedelics to be like, yo, we're all one. So this reminds me a lot of like pushing people in the direction of we're all one without the need for psychedelics, which is good because a lot of people are scared of psychedelics.
Sure, rightly so.
Not me.
Yeah.
Not me either. That's true. Jordan, not you either?
Nope.
Yeah.
You can Google me, you'll quickly see that.
You'll quickly see that, yeah. Okay, so I kind of do want to stay on this a little more about like your inspiration about this and also just the overall philosophy about this. Too bad we can't showcase kind of what you're thinking for this first one. We will soon be able to showcase what the first global gift looks like. What you can teach us is that it's coming from the United States to Mexico and will hopefully be delivered by 2020.
Definitely by 2020.
Yes.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, and we have an art piece that is like in the final stages of being developed, and I can't release it publicly just yet, but it's gorgeous and 75 feet tall.
75 feet tall.
And like we're kind of like the kind of feel we're going for is like the Statue of Unity.
Statue of
Unity. So like a follow-up for the Statue of Liberty. Unfortunately, there's already a statue called that that will actually be the biggest one in the world in India. But so if you think of a better name, let me know.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the feel we're going for.
And there's this like, I guess, there's a what did you say? The Statue of Unity in India is like this fat guy.
It's like fat guy.
It's a fat guy, and
like
it's
when
massive.
have men ever united anybody? Like we're divisive. Like historically, we're very divisive. It's more so women, really. Like the feminine more so. So I think it makes more sense to have a woman, which is what we're doing.
Yeah. So okay. So you gave us a little bit of woman. Can we talk about how there's something a little bit more than just a structure that there's lighting as well? Can we? No,
we can wait.
We can wait.
We can
okay.
wait and see the big finale.
Yeah. So that's an important aspect. You're not just a one trick. It's not just going to be one piece of like metal or steel or whatever. There's more, and it's gorgeous. So that's good. Okay. So gifted for sure by 2020. Now let's walk through kind of like how this works, because like how the fuck do you give a 75-foot statue to another country in the world in 2 years? Like how do you manage to pull that off?
Yeah, so we can start with the crowdfunding campaign. So the interesting part is that we'll be crowdfunding it with a limit of $1 per person. That's a max. And that is like very, very much by design. The idea there is that it needs to be a gift that comes from the people, not from like 5 billionaires, not from like a bunch of middle-class white people that have like the money to be able to donate to something like this. It should be coming from people from all walks of life, all backgrounds and circumstances. Like even, like the poorest among us have $1. So
yeah, it's so easy to Venmo $1 to Global Gift Project, right? That's such an easy thing. And
exactly.
Like you were teaching me about this mentality of like even a child has $1.
Even a child has $1, yeah. Or at least they'll have it before they spend it on candy. Yeah. So that's kind of part of it. Is like it's such an easy ask. It's like, have you given your dollar yet? It's like so simple.
Yeah.
For this idea that's so big, and that's like a really big thing that I'm trying to do with this project in particular, is show that when a lot of people come together and do one small thing each, that you can move mountains, that you can do huge things that capture the world's attention and can rewrite this story of mankind that we currently have.
That's so powerful. I love your vision with that. So there is this whole philosophy that you baked in about the $1 per person, and I'm really enjoying this. So let's talk about it a little more. A lot of what we see, the monumental change, the mountains being moved, occurs a lot through the hands of just a couple people. And that's usually this big money in politics or this big money in the private sector or whatever, making change through lobbyists and through all this other kind of stuff. But when you can push a sort of a viral campaign, and I would love for you to teach us about how you're planning on doing this, but when you can push multiple millions of people across the world to give $1 each, you can show that there's so much power in these small, tiny movements of lots of people. And that's so interesting because I don't think humans have figured out how to unlock that potential yet. So there's a whole new game of potential that will be unleashed when people realize that if we all push a little bit of force, we can all move the massive mountain. That's cool.
Yeah, and I think there's a story right now in general that people don't care, that like millennials or they're not really doing anything to like change the world. I think what's actually happening is that a lot of people, like most people, have a strong desire to do something good and to make an impact, but they just have no idea where to start. Like the problem seems so insurmountable. But if there was an opportunity in front of them that required very little effort and allowed them to actually participate in something that could do some good, I think they would jump at it.
$1.
$1.
Yeah.
Like super simple. And just to be clear, like this is going to cost like $3 million. So I need 3 million people, which is a small percentage of the U.S. population.
What?
It's like 1%. It's like 1%. Yeah. So it's not small, but I love that. Like basically, if I can't reach 3 million people with this, I have failed. The idea was not a good one, and like the world's not ready.
Futurism, like you can get.
If I can't get 3 million people to give $1 each, then I give up.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So I never want to see you give up ever.
Oh, I wouldn't really.
Yeah. Good. Okay. So now teach us about the campaign. So you're going to take a 25-foot version.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah, smaller version to give the people an idea of what it actually looks like, but say it's actually going to be 3 times this size. And we're going to do a physical tour around the U.S. And something cool that most people don't know is that the Statue of Liberty itself was also crowdfunded. So in France, they made the head and also the hand holding the torch, and they did the same thing. They toured it around France, and they had people donate money to help build the rest of it.
No way.
I'm serious. Yeah, it has like such a cool story. This Statue of Liberty.
They did this
the same thing.
Process?
It was like the biggest crowdfunding campaign of the 1800s.
Yeah, that's so interesting.
Yeah. So they toured it, and people would give money to like take photos with it and climb on it and whatever else. So we're going to replicate that and take this 25-foot version on a big flatbed truck around the U.S., go to like, you know, fairly major cities. And the idea is to have people be like waiting in line to actually put their physical dollar into like a physical container and like, you know, take their Instagram photo. Like I gave my dollar in front of this epic piece of art.
Yeah.
And that's just one aspect of it. And of course, there's also the online, you know, digital advertising, which I have a lot more experience in. But something I really love about this is that I think the physical is important. And I've been so digital for so long, and I'm like all about the future and technology and everything else. But like, you know, someone texting a number to give $1, which will allow people to do, is cool.
It's cool.
But it's a different thing than you coming out physically and showing up and saying, here's my fucking dollar.
And seeing the 1/3 sized version of what you're supporting as well.
Right.
Yeah.
Which will be, you know, the height of your ceiling, which they can't see, but it's very tall.
Yeah, there is a lofted ceiling in this space, and so the structure, I can't believe, is going to be the height of this ceiling, the 1/3 size structure. Okay, you know what else I thought is really interesting? Ron's currently showing people on the RoboCam so what you see right now is going to be the 25-foot version. It's going to be about that tall, and that means 3 times that height is going to be the final version. Now, you mentioned, like, this was so interesting. The Statue of Liberty was the head, and the torch was brought around France, and that's so interesting. So are you going to enable people to also climb the 25-foot version?
Oh no, it's not that. It'll be different. Yeah, we thought about doing like 2 pieces of it, like they originally did. But I don't think it would be quite as impressive as just seeing like the full version in like a smaller size.
You're right.
Yeah.
And so then nobody's climbing it. You just have the bottom.
No climbing. Yeah.
You might have like a little platform to let people get higher up on it or something.
Yeah, higher up, take a photo, whatever you want to do.
Yeah, because otherwise, we might have to think about how to master the best way for people to be able to take a photo with it, because otherwise it's going to be like
it'd be really low.
It'd be low, exactly.
Although it's kind of cool that you can't even see it. It's like so tall that they're just like, whoa, what's that thing you're standing in front of? Yeah.
Otherwise, you look like an ant when they go really far back.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, what?
There you go.
I'm good?
Yeah.
Okay. So an interesting thought as well about the like taking this on a truck bed. You're going to be moving this from New York to East Coast cities and then to some Midwest.
Just around, yeah.
Yeah, just around. It's crazy. You're putting this on a truck bed. So, okay, so now the 25-foot version, timeline-wise, what is our timeline for that? And then when does it go on tour?
So the timeline is finalizing the piece of art, which is well underway. So probably a few more months, definitely a few more months until the 25-foot version is done. And then once I have...
2019 tour starts-ish?
Yeah, I would say early 2019.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah. And then once I have the art finalized, I'll be reaching out to figures in Mexico, like mayors, who would have the ability to say, yes, we'll receive this gift.
Yes.
Just need a place to put it.
Permanent place that's central, where it can get a lot of attention.
Exactly.
We want to help with that. We want to help with marketing the crap out of getting all these different cities in the U.S. to donate to it. Are you allowing people around the world?
No, this is just the U.S.
Because
it's a gift.
So interesting too.
I mean, if someone wants to like pretend to be, like, I'm not going to do like know your customer with IP blocking or anything. I can do that, but we're only going to be marketing within the U.S. and saying, hey, this is from the people in the U.S.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So, but then at the end, it'd be interesting to know if you got 85% of the funds from the U.S. or whatever.
Yeah, we can also set those funds aside that come from international people.
That's interesting.
Because the extra money from the campaign, assuming we go above and beyond $3 million, which is the goal, would be seed funding for additional gifts. Like, we're hoping that people see this around the world and they're like, that's awesome. I want to do that. Like, I'm an artist. So they're like, I want to create a gift that's not even art, something else, something different. And they will send us proposals, and we, send maybe, 3 groups around the world some money to get started on their own version of their global gift.
I'm in love with the idea of the Earth becoming littered with gifts from countries. I'm just envisioning, I'm envisioning this right here. I'm envisioning this, and every single time one of these packages lands, this new beautiful like 40 foot or 80 foot or 200 foot wide maybe gift emerges in this different country, gifted by another country, and then it just becomes this, it could become these new wonders of Earth as well, which I love the idea of that we've been so lost from that sort of ideology, focused on so much other stuff with the Industrial Revolution and this explosion of technology and work, that we forgot about the blessing of being able to deliver gigantic pieces of art to each other.
We didn't forget anything. We're just programmed to be hateful and warmongers and create criminals to populate our private prisons. Nobody forgot anything. We're trying to deal with simulation. Go ahead.
There's a lot of distractions. Ron's right, and it makes it difficult to pursue projects like this. But clear thinking will get us to an inspiration for the next ones. I like how you think past we're going to get past their goal. We're going to put that money into a seed for another project from another country to another country, wherever they want to do it.
Yeah, I mean, the way I see it is that either people get this idea and they like love it. So I think it's like a very like binary outcome. Yeah. It's like either I'm totally off, and all the people that I've been talking to that love this idea are also wrong, and the world will not get this, or it's going to be like, wow, this is really cool, and it's going to skyrocket. Yeah, we'll see.
This might be one of the first sort of ideas that I think more than 50% of humanity might be in favor for. I think.
I don't know how you could be against it.
Yeah.
Like maybe neutral, possibly?
Maybe neutral. Why would you ever be against it? It'd be like, that's a stupid use of money. I guess somebody could say that. I shouldn't have done the stupid person voice, but that I would like to hear your
that was
argument.
a good stupid person's voice.
I'm sure there'll be haters. There's probably haters. Yeah, there always are.
It's a waste of money. Yeah, well, I would love to hear your counter argument if you have one. Comment below with why this is a waste of money, why this is a bad idea, because it's important to hear other people's perspectives on.
No, it isn't. just keep doing what you're doing. Don't mind the haters.
Okay, so now in 2019, this is starting to be trucked around. Are you going to start with? You're going to start with East Coast cities?
It's probably going to be starting on the West Coast.
But it's assembled on the East.
West Coast.
It is assembled on the West.
Yep.
Okay, I thought the artist that you were working with was going to be there.
No, that's actually why I'm here in SF.
Exactly, to collab with the artist. Interesting, okay. Then this artist has done some work with like Burning Man and other sort of...
Maybe,
yeah, maybe. Okay, good. Okay, we'll keep it maybe for now. This artist has enough credentials to be...
Certainly.
Yeah. Okay, so now it gets made here, and then it starts in San Francisco in the Bay Area, and then it goes down to like LA, Seattle, San Diego, and then it moves to Las Vegas and Phoenix and blah blah, and it just moves across the coast.
Yeah, it'll be a multi-month campaign.
Multi-month campaign. So you're going to go 2019 fundraising, and then you'll be every dollar that you get put in along the way, you're just going to put it into the big 75-foot structure.
Yep.
That's how it's the fundraising.
Yeah. So, and we'll be accepting dollars in a multitude of ways, basically making it as easy as possible for anyone to send in a dollar. So we'll have like a mailing address where you can mail physical dollars, a number you can text to send a dollar.
It's going to cost 50 cents to send a dollar.
Yeah, I know, right? And we're trying to avoid, online transactions where there's like a credit card fee of like
$1,
2.5 cents, 2.5% and 10 cents, because that's like 12% of what they'd be giving.
Or cryptocurrency where it costs more than the dollar.
Yeah, the gas price is like 50 cents. Yeah. We're not good at microtransactions yet.
Yeah.
Just so, no matter who you are, if you're like the grandma that like, still mails $20 checks or like cash to your nephew or my grandchildren for the birthdays, like great, we got you covered.
Where can we get a T-shirt? Those futurism T-shirts. I want to get one for my niece and nephew.
Unfortunately, they're not publicly available.
Yeah, well, that'd be a good way to raise some money. Just saying.
There's a couple things. First of all, we'll have to maybe get a futurism T-shirt somehow. We'll pry it out from the.
I think we can make that happen.
Maybe we can make that happen. On the, what else we need is it would be great if Global Gift Project also had a little tiny shirt, hey, you love this design, it would be great to have a little earth with a little gift on it.
Yeah.
That would be a cool shirt.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people would like that shirt. So I'd be super down for that. Okay, so all these different ways to get microtransactions. Now you're getting them in as you're traveling. Something that I really thought was a good point as well was, okay, you mentioned this. I'm coming to the bottom of this 25-foot statue. I'm really enamored by it. I love it. And then I donate the dollar. I take Instagram photos. So now this is part of the marketing genius.
Yeah, it's have you given your dollar? Be a part of history now.
Be a part of history.
Yeah, kind of like Ice Bucket Challenge, right? Where it was the thing to do. It was the cool thing to do.
Yeah.
To go and pour this ice bucket over your head. And I'm asking you to do something far less extreme than that. Yep. It's come out and put $1 in a box that's really iconic. So when you see this photo on Instagram, you'll see 1,000 of them. And, it'll be your whole feed.
Yep, exactly. Global Gift Project will be a hashtag. It'll be it's its own Instagram.
Yeah.
And so then you can surf through the tags. You can, this is genius in terms of marketing as well, just because of the sheer amount of impressions, and you're doing a little bit of the Jones effect. Jordan has donated his dollar. Has Alan donated his dollar yet? And then the others, this whole being a part of history. It's great. Yeah.
Yeah. Something else we're doing, which you think kind of goes along with the theme of asking very little of people, is instead of asking people to share it with 3 or 5 people or 10 people or their whole email list or their whole social media following, just one person. Just pick one person that you know and it'd be hey, and write out a message to them and say, hey, this is really cool. Would you please just take 10 seconds to give $1 in any of these 17 ways?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's making it simple.
Thank you, Ron.
No, that was the swipe sound. But you can do that anyway. We're at 37.
Perfect. Yeah, good call. So I'm just I'm really happy that you have a vision like this.
I'm happy that there's young people that do things like this. That are just interested in gaming and shit like that.
Yeah. There's also a certain amount of, Jordan oozes with, you ooze with Global Gift Project right now, and you ooze with the execution expertise, the marketing expertise, and that's really attractive,
I seem uniquely suited to do it. I've done 4 crowdfunding campaigns, each all successful, each gotten bigger than the previous one. I've built 2 major online publications and have done the marketing thing. And then I think this idea just kind of markets itself. It's so unique, it's so out there.
Do you
it's so
attribute
novel.
your upbringing to who you are today?
I've certainly played a role, very similar to my father, I'd say.
How so? Just curious.
In most ways. He's an entrepreneur.
Oh, cool.
He's got some pretty wild out there ideas. He always encouraged me. When I dropped out of college, he was the one that was yeah, cool, do it. when no one else
Who has
was.
that dad? That's Jordan has that dad. That's
I have
great.
a cool dad.
Yeah, that's cool. He's got a cool dad. Yeah.
Well, I'm not formally trained on my craft, I mean, I wouldn't have mind going to college, but it didn't hurt me not going.
Ron's definitely a cool uncle. He's got a niece and nephew that he
Smoke pot with? No, I'm only kidding.
I'm kidding. Yeah, but they love it's Ron's so fresh for them because he's so much different than normal humans are when they engage with them. So he's fresh in that sense, and your dad seems to be fresh in his ability to be all right, go do it. So okay, as an entrepreneur, so you see some of yourself in him in that sense.
Yeah, but other than that, not really. It's raised super Christian until I was 10.
You were?
Yeah, actually, my dad was a pastor until I was 10, and then he's come a long way since then.
I'm down with the king. It's all right. Don't be, it's not a bad base. I don't regret my, Catholic upbringing for sure.
Yeah.
But you just kind of evolve into. You got to be careful. Every religion out there has been hijacked by its adversary. So, you know, you have to be cautious. But I'm down with the king.
Jordan, I wanna address, you know, a couple maybe more like bigger vision points about this. I mean, you've already went through a lot of the nuance, which is great. Is there a important place to go after the U.S. giving a gift to Mexico that you would say is like another crucial place on the planet to do this?
I mean, there's a number of countries that have far more conflict between them than U.S. and Mexico. We talk about Russia and Ukraine, Israel and Palestine, India and Pakistan.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no number, there's no shortage of conflicts abroad. Yeah.
Yeah.
Divide and conquer.
And is there one that of those that really rings a, or do you just hope that it ends up being that other?
Yeah, I just hope it ends up being that. I hope other people see this and love this and want to duplicate it, and they can use the template that I've created to do the same thing.
Are you going to potentially open source the template itself? That could
yeah, whatever can be open source will be open source. The website's up on GitHub.
Yeah.
If we might use Indiegogo or Kickstarter. I haven't approached them yet about the $1 limit. They would have to change the way that their platforms work in order to use that. So either they'll be down, or we can just use an open source code base for crowdfunding on our own domain. Either way.
Yeah. Yeah, because it would be important for whoever wants to do this next. I think you're going to end up needing to be a little bit more involved in, like you said, you're going to put some money in for the seed for the next one.
Mm-hmm.
I think you're going to end up needing to be a little bit more involved as it gets going, because I would love to just envision a place where 4 countries decide in 2020, right after this, that they want to do it.
Mm-hmm.
I would love to.
I think we'd act as more like consultants.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not going to pretend how to do marketing in like Spain.
Yeah.
You know, I'm sure it's a hell of a lot different than the U.S., which is what I know. So, yeah, we'll help out with whatever they ask for help with.
Yeah. Any other like pressing thoughts around the Global Gift Project that you think are important to share?
Well, I'll say if you love this idea out there, and you want to be involved, this is like early days, and if you want to join the team and contribute, there's a number of ways that everyone could help out. So feel free to email. Actually, if you go to globalgiftproject.org, there is I'll push it tonight. There'll be a form at the bottom where you can apply to actually be a part of the team and work on this.
That's great.
Be it, you know, part-time, full-time, 1 hour a week, whatever.
Yeah. That's great to have all of those options for people to get involved in whatever amount that they can. For example, I think a way that many people can be involved is just to start simply telling other people about it. I'm a big proponent of this at the end of the show, and I'll make that clear here too. You have some insights into a couple things that I think we should address towards the end of the show here. Maybe the first one being mythology. I think you have an interesting take on some things regarding maybe like actualizations of oneself or pursuing one's bliss. Teach us about this.
I've been a major proponent of people taking radical action to follow what they feel really passionate about in the world. I think that the people that are really doing big things, the people that are revered, you know, like the celebrities doing cool stuff, like that's all they're doing. They have a radical idea and they jumped off the cliff completely and devoted their lives to it. So if you're able to do that, like people are going to know you, you're going to make an impact in the world, you're going to have success, you're going to have everything, you know, that normal people in society want. But in terms of like mythology overall, I had an interesting conversation this week talking to actually the artist for Global Gift Project, and we were talking about how there's not really a mythology, like a story that humanity has for how we'll get out of the problems that we've created for ourselves. Like the reigning narrative right now is that like things are fucked, you know, and we're probably not going to get out. Like, how are we going to solve all these problems? We're so far away from world peace. There's still mass, you know, hunger. and like climate change being probably like the scariest thing, where all these statistics are coming out. Like the narrative is that things are bad, things are really, really, really bad, and I think that we need a new narrative to stand on top of that gives us a way forward. And so that's kind of like what I've realized I'm trying to do with this, and with kind of like the overall theme of this, which is telling people that we as individuals are extremely powerful if we're able to come together. And we don't need to do that much. You don't need to quit your job and just stop eating for a year and protest. I mean, you don't need to do something extreme if you're not in that position to do that. So I want to create opportunities for everybody, no matter their background and circumstances, to take small action in a huge group and reestablish this narrative that we're in control, we have power as individuals, and we can actually make the changes we need to get out of the situation that we're currently in.
Yeah, there's two things there that I thought were really important. The first one being that the sort of radical change that happens when one follows their passion, that if they take a radical change in that direction, that's usually where the most meaning, fulfillment, actualization comes from in life.
Oh, yeah.
I love that, and we try our best to go do that, take that massive risk, go do that, because it's usually where you'll find the most meaning. And then the other thing that you said that was really crucial there, I think, was there's really no narrative for something like what you're building, the Global Gift Project. There's no narrative for kind of getting humanity to be more. There's so much mythology. I can't even talk about it because I know nothing about it. But just classic mythology follows a lot of a hero's or a heroine's journey, etc. And that's kind of what we're talking about with unleashing your own full potential and everything. But at the same time, a lot of this is taking civilization on your back in like a novel and unique way. All right. How about a couple other points? You have stances on virtual reality and universal basic income. Teach us about what you think about those two.
UBI is probably the thing I'm most passionate about. That's like a really hard, like concrete solution to a lot of the problems that we're facing. I see it as a root level solution that, if implemented, would like trickle up and enable us to solve many of the other problems that we're facing. So for those not familiar, Universal Basic Income, or UBI, is the concept of generally the government giving an unconditional payment to every single citizen every month. Like the value used most often is $1,000 a month. And the important part here is unconditional.
We were bonding over Andrew Yang.
Right.
Yeah, prior to the show.
Yeah.
Andrew Yang, 1K a month, unconditional from the government. Funded, $2 trillion has to be funded somehow. And there's a whole, he talks about it on our episode, but it needs to be funded, and like you said, it can trickle up. UBI can. Yep. Yeah,
so I think the powerful part of it is that it provides this safety net that enables people to take risks that would allow them to do work that would be really impactful for the world. So, for example, potential entrepreneurs, people that have an idea but are like working a really shitty job, or even maybe supporting other people too, that don't have the option of quitting and focusing on that thing. This at least provides some means for someone to be like, I'm going to quit this job and I'm going to give it like 6 months. I'm not going to be able to live well. I'm going to eat ramen, but I'll be able to pay my rent and like not be on the streets, and it'll give me as much time as I need to work on this idea. It's just like it's amazing safety net. It's kind of crazy that we don't have it, and we have Social Security and welfare and like these systems, but these systems are very, very broken. Like the main part with welfare is that there is this strange like gap basically where it often makes more sense to stay in welfare than it does to get a job. Yeah, because you have someone on welfare, they get paid a certain amount of money, and if they get a job, now they're working 8-hour days, 6 days a week, and they're getting paid barely more or the same, or even potentially less than they would with just taking welfare, which is crazy. Yeah, so it's disincentivizing people from going out and creating value, because if they do, then they get their safety net taken away. Whereas UBI, it's unconditional. No matter what you do, it's there. And then also, I think there's a ton of jobs that are not even jobs, or like things that people could be doing that we don't really ascribe value to because they don't generate income.
Totally.
Like
volunteering or
volunteering, community building events, like things that we really need a lot of right now, like especially with how like fucked up things are and how unhappy people are, and like mental illness being a huge issue. A lot of these jobs that are super necessary, they don't generate income. So this would allow or further allow people to do those types of things.
Interesting that the market doesn't value them, but the community values them, and
right.
And they're not getting paid in that sense, but they're desperately needed, and so this would enable more people to potentially do community work, and so many of these desperately needed, and it unlocks the creative potential in so many people.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like what would happen if this enabled just twice as many people, like say an extra % of humans to be able to be doing what they're meant to be doing, like the thing that they were born to do, that they have this unique skill set or experience that nobody else has, and right, like how many Einsteins are we missing out on because they're stuck in the mailroom? What if Einstein had stayed in the patent office instead of doing what he did? Yeah. If we just unlocked another percentage point of people that were doing that, that's huge. That's massive. Yeah. Let alone like 2 percentage points, 3, 5.
Yeah.
So I think the effects of UBI are really hard to quantify, and that's something that's really important to point out when people are talking about the cost of UBI. It's like, well, what about the cost we can't quantify that we're losing right now? Yeah. Because people are fucked. They have no option.
Yeah, it's a really interesting experiment that will likely be run in 2020 in the United States.
Well, I mean, look at all, there's been tons of experiments. I haven't found a single one that hasn't turned up really, really positive results. I mean, one common thing that people say is like, oh, if you give like poor people money, they're gonna spend it on alcohol and gambling and drugs and sex. Turns out that's not true at all. Like no experiment in any of the experiments has shown that. If you give people enough money to actually make a difference in their lives, they will spend that money properly and they'll spend it well. If you give a homeless guy 20 bucks, that's not enough for him to get an apartment or a job or like, be able to shower and buy a suit and get it. Like that's not enough. So yeah, I'm spending on beer for sure, because this isn't gonna dig me out of the hole. Give that same person $1,000 a month, the perspective is completely different.
I love it, but I just think there's still exceptions to this rules. I still think we're going to have issues with some people doing exactly what you say they're not going to do.
I'm fine with that. Yeah. Like that's all right. Yeah, I don't think to say like everyone will do that is fair at all.
Totally.
Well, then we should just kill them.
Oh gosh, if only we were in better control of working together. I think we're getting there. We're getting there. I think UBI has a lot of potential as well. Okay, how about couple quick thoughts on the way out. This has been very enriching, Global Gift Project. We like to ask a couple questions at the end of the show. We'll keep them speed round on them.
Ooh, fun.
All right. Do you think we're alone in the cosmos?
I mean, it's like mathematically impossible. So no, I don't. I don't have an answer for why we haven't heard from them yet. But Google it. There's a billion propositions for why that is. An answer to the Fermi paradox. Yeah, so no, I don't think we're alone.
Do you think we're in a simulation?
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
Thanks,
is that
Jordan.
I can explain that one too.
Please.
And it actually kind of goes into virtual reality a little bit.
Perfect. Yeah.
So let's see. So we've been around for however long as humans, and we've come to the point where we have pretty realistic virtual reality. I don't know if any of you, if you have tried anything, it's pretty fucking good, and it's only really the first six years of it ish, 7 years. So give us another 50 years, we're going to have something that is indistinguishable from reality, and you're going to be living or like interacting in these worlds that are just potentially even like better. Like you might just want to live in a virtual world all the time because it's better than what we have here. Infinite possibilities, you can design it, whatever. And I think that something that would naturally happen, if possible, is let's say you're in this game and it's already really realistic. The one thing that could make it more realistic is if you forget that you're in the game, right? Like if you gave me that option, like, you're going to be in this video game for a half hour and you're going to completely forget that it's not real. And that's going to make it so much more thrilling for you. I'd be like, yeah, I'll try that. For sure. I would try that. So that's pretty much a simulated reality, right? And I just think that the chances of that of this being the first time ever in the the entire history of reality that this is happening, pretty fucking slim. So, yeah.
Yeah, I like how Jordan explains it from the perspective of
Sure.
of being like, okay, now you're 50 years forward with the whole indistinguishable virtual reality thing. You're jumping into whatever virtual worlds you want. You're just basically swimming through differently designed worlds at your leisure, and then you're just like, this is so much better. I just completely forgot that I was even in a virtual world.
That's right.
And then then you've designed a world where you're also then designing simulated worlds because you want to explore and understand
Sure.
what those worlds look like.
Yeah.
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 So it's interesting shit. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks for being at the forefront of what I think is also happening.
And those who've watched Rick and Morty would understand this, but it's also not too crazy for me to offer you the opportunity to live an entire life within VR that only takes a second in this real reality.
Yeah.
If I was like, you could live 90 years as Alan, and you run this show called Simulation, and you do that, you're like, yeah, I like to experience that. And it's only gonna be 10 seconds of real time.
My real time?
Sure. Why not? It sounds pretty cool. Again, the chances of this being the first time that that's possible, pretty unlikely.
Yeah.
Just like aliens non-existent,
Yeah.
pretty unlikely.
Yeah. Oh, you want to spend another 10 seconds evolving on a rock that orbits 2 stars instead of 1? Yeah, I want to see what that's like. You get 140 years there. They have a little longer life. It's like, oh, yeah.
Yeah,
This
that sounds
time,
cool.
this time you run a.
You laugh, and this is probably true. It's probably.
Yeah. I love it. Oh man, we should let's stay just a couple quickie more minutes on simulation theory because I feel like you've unpacked it in good enough detail. Sometimes the guests on the show, when we are expanding their dimensions to these new areas of thought, sometimes the answers can be kind of binary, or it can be not very thought out super well, but yours is thought out quite well, and we also tend to be very aware of the vastness of the cosmic perspective as well as the length, and so quick question, what then would reality be if there's so many embeds that are going on then?
That's a great question. I mean, I think we're likely many, many, many levels deep. It's like, what's more crazy than experiencing this world? Like, oh, you're in this world experiencing this other simulated world. You're many, many, many levels from remembering what is truly going on.
Yeah. Okay, so interesting. Many levels away from knowing what's truly going on. How about what would the infrastructure look like for let's say this is Jordan Lejuan's avatar. This is your avatar in this life.
It's time.
Okay, time. Just last thought about simulation theory. Let's say this is your avatar in this life. We had Mo Gaudat on the show, and we were talking to Mo Gaudat about things, and he firmly believes that this is just your avatar and that you're somewhere else. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So what would that somewhere else look like, and would that
I have no clue.
No clue.
Maybe it's just maybe we're pure energy or something. I have no idea. Yeah. I think that's kind of the state of things, is that this is all we have to measure, and I think it's very likely that we created something completely different to experience, because why create the same thing?
Yeah.
We've already done that. Yeah.
So just one last thought about simulation theory. There's just something about looking at the 100+ billion people that have lived and died before us today, that have built this world that we live in, and when I today, for some fucking reason, I had the visual, a visceral emotional experience of being a woman that was stitching together a United States flag in 1780 or 90 or
Betsy
something.
Ross?
Yeah, some Betsy Ross life. I'm serious. It was fucking weird. So my energy was, what I mean, why am I living in someone else's life from the past? What is going on with the collective field of consciousness and rebirths and all this shit? Okay, very last question. What do you think is the most beautiful thing in the world?
That's a great question. I don't think I've ever been asked that.
Take it and run with it.
Yeah, I mean, to go along with what we've been saying, I think it's people coming together, especially when they have to go through some shit. You know, like they're at odds and they still come together. For me, the entire inspiration for all these ideas was going to Coachella in 2004 and seeing my favorite band at the time, Coldplay. And they did the thing where they stopped singing and they put the audience or the microphone out, and the entire audience, you know, like, I don't know, 10,000 people is all singing in unison. And I remember getting like crazy chills.
Yes.
Of just like,
yes.
Even now, just every time I talk about it, getting chills.
Yes.
So I think that's beautiful.
And we've talked about that similar concept. Imagine if everybody on the planet was just like, hey, at from noon until 12:15 p.m., nobody can use the economy or use political systems or use technology. Everyone's just got to slow down and meditate, and then potentially unlock some sort of collective field of energy. Yeah, imagine if we all thought about the same thing at the same time. Jordan, what a freaking pleasure it is
Likewise.
to have hosted you. Thank you for coming on to our show.
Thank you.
So much love for the Global Gift Project. And, you know, links in the bio. Go check out Global Gift Project. Hopefully this has inspired you to think about our world differently, how we can collaborate together, how we can do things like gigantic pieces of art. Let's rebirth that. Just like we're rebirthing the public and intellectual, let's rebirth doing cool gift projects across the planet. Go check out the links in the bio. Definitely go and share this to other people. Go and start talking to them about it. Go and make content with this. Don't just consume. Go create videos, create blog posts, go make stuff. Subscribe, comment below with your thoughts. Let's start talking about all of this cool stuff as a community. Join us on Patreon to help us scale our impact to more people, inspire more people in this way. Thank you, Ron, our producer, director. Thanks, Jordan. Much love, everyone. Peace.